public breakups, voting rights, and the uncomfortable truth about how men and women treat each other. We gonna get into it. Let's get it. Welcome. First of all, welcome. This is Unsolicited Perspectives. I am your host, Bruce Anthony, here to lead the conversation in important events and topics that are shaping today's society. Join the conversation and follow us wherever you get your audio podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for our video podcast, YouTube exclusive content, and our YouTube membership. Rate, review, like, comment, share. Share with your friends, share with your family, hell, even share with your enemies. On today's episode, we're unpacking dating, the Supreme Court impact on our future, and a little after-hour sneak peek. But that's enough of the intro. Let's get to the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, my sister is a little under the weather, so we're not doing that typical sibling happy hour like we normally do. I'm going to be carrying the show by myself, which I haven't done in a little while, so I'm going to be a little rusty, so bear with me. But we will be coming back on Tuesday, which will be me again. But I'm going to hopefully find time this weekend to film a segment with my sister. So you guys will still be getting semi-sibling happy hours, both on this episode and the next episode. And then we'll be back for the regular sibling happy hour in a week from today. But I'm going to be talking about a few different things on this episode in the first and second segment. And then the third segment is an after-hour sneak peek that we filmed about a year ago. My sister had been sending me a couple of DMs and stuff that I thought were interesting. And I specifically put it on the after hours, but it's been close to a year now. So I'm going to let you guys in on that conversation. So that'll be in the third segment. But what are we going to talk about in this first segment? I'm going to start off kind of personal, a little disalarming, add a little bit of humor, hopefully. But the overall theme in this segment is dating is hard. And I don't mean like we don't text each other back fast enough type of hard. I mean emotionally confusing, mentally draining, what are we even doing here type hard. Because at some point, everybody realizes you're not just dating a person, you're dating their habits, their trauma, their expectations, and their ability to be honest. Let's talk about authenticity, especially when it comes to dating. A lot of times, people misread signals, invest too early, or they hold back too long. They trust too easily or overthink a little too much. And a lot of times that moment where something feels off, they ignore it. And the reason is because dating isn't hard because people are complicated. It's hard because people aren't always honest about who they are. And honestly, sometimes people aren't honest with who they are because they really don't know who they are. And that's just regular people. That's just you and me, the people listening on this show, people walking out in life. That's just regular people. That's everybody. Everybody goes through this though. Even when you got money, fame, success, relationships can still fall apart in the exact same way. Now, why am I bringing all of this up? Why am I talking about dating and the traumas and pressure of dating? I'm going to tell y'all right now, personally, I have extreme dating anxiety. It's part of the reason why I'm single right now. I mean, we go out on dates. First of all, it costs a lot of money to date. So that's number one. I would rather invest in this MacBook Pro that I bought. No, but it costs a lot of money. And a lot of times, and I've gotten better as I've gotten older, of picking up on when people are dating just because they're lonely. And a lot of times people don't even realize that they're lonely and that's the only reason why they're dating. And then there are people who are dating with intention, but that's cool and all, but sometimes you can direct that intention towards people that really shouldn't be directed to. But like, once again, why am I bringing all this up, Bruce? Why are you talking about dating? Well, a celebrity couple just broke up. And a lot of people know about this celebrity couple. Is it Mark Anthony and Jennifer Lopez? No. Is it Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck? No. Is it Jennifer Lopez and Diddy? No. I don't know why I'm throwing Jennifer Lopez under the bus with all of her many relationships. But that was just the first thing that came to my mind. No, I'm talking about Meg Thee Stallion and Klay Thompson. And from the outside, it looked like a solid situation. They were public, they were supportive, it had real energy, or it looked like it had real energy. But they broke up recently. Let me give you guys the timeline of what happened. So let's go from the beginning of this celebrity romance. And it started in July 2025. Mind you, this episode is releasing May the 1st, 2026. So I just want to put that in context. The relationship started July 2025, and we're in May. This actually happened in April, but May 2026. Just to let y'all know, if you're not really familiar with how months work, May comes before July, meaning that the relationship didn't even last a year. That's okay, because a lot of us regular people who aren't celebrities, who aren't rich, have relationships that don't last a year. The majority of my relationships don't last a year. Matter of fact, the longest relationship I've been in since my marriage has been a year. Almost to the day. But anyway, so they start dating in July 2025. And they're publicly praising each other. There's a strong connection. The rumor started at the gala in July. And you know it's real when people start talking about how happy they are, and you can actually see it. And from the outside looking in, it genuinely looked like two people who were really excited to be together, and who, in the honeymoon phase, really isn't excited to be with the person. It's the honeymoon phase, because I just want to reiterate, this relationship started July 2025, and they broke up in April 2026. I just want to keep that out there. But there was a lot of highs during this very public celebrity relationship. They had social media posts. They were working out together. They made public appearances. They spent the holidays together. She made Thanksgiving dinner for Klay Thompson's family. They spent Christmas together. She was supporting him at the courtside. She was writing music about their relationship. They weren't hiding their relationship. It was the kind of relationship that people root for. That's the reason why so many people have been kind of shocked that the relationship didn't work. The peak of the relationship energy happened just in February, just a few months ago, right? With birthday celebrations, there was a Bentley that was gifted, public appreciation. They had locked in type of behavior just a few months ago. As Jay-Z once said, it was all good just a week ago. But then the breakup happens. April 25, 2026. Once again, let me point out, they started this relationship in July of 2025, or at least publicly there were rumors, okay? So not even a year later, everything flips. They was just having a great month in February. Great month. But everything flips. Megan accuses Klay of cheating and ends the relationship very publicly. This is paraphrasing her quote here, but trust, infidelity, and respect were broken, so there was no path forward. Now, what does this all really mean? Public relationships still deal with trust issues, betrayal, misalignment of values, right? Doesn't matter how good it looks on the outside. If the foundation breaks, everything breaks. But everybody's been there before, right? We've dated people thinking that it was solid, thinking that this was it, thinking like this was a situation that was going to last. Then in one moment, everything changes. And the hardest part about relationships isn't starting them, it's realizing when they're over. I'm not the greatest in relationships. I'm getting better. And so I'm going to do a personal detour and talk about me and my personal relationships. Now, I am nowhere near Klay Thompson, nowhere near the basketball player he was or is, nowhere close to having the money value. I think I'm better looking, but that's neither here nor there. We have some similarities. Klay Thompson has a history of not being the most faithfulest. I don't know if that's really a word, but y'all know I mess up on words anyway, so whatever. It's not. Y'all might remember him in a relationship with a young influencer. And you probably don't, because the people that listen to this show probably didn't think Klay Thompson was all that popular. I'll get to that in a minute. But he was dating a young influencer, I don't know, 12, 13, 14, not age, 2012, 13, 14. And she's very popular. Millions of followers, was coming up through the Vine area. I'm not going to throw her name out there like that because she probably doesn't want to relive what she went through. And she was dating Klay Thompson, and he cheated on her. His side of the story was he wasn't ready for monogamy. He's 37 years old. And sometimes it just hits men late, or sometimes it never hits men at all. I've had some men in my family that I know that I love dearly, could not stay faithful to save their life. To their dying days was still unfaithful. Just some people are just unfortunately like that. Some of the backlash Klay is getting, which is justified if he cheated. She's hinted at that he's cheated. He's got a history of cheating, but we don't know if he cheated. We just know that he said he didn't know if he wanted to be monogamous. Women have been killing Klay. And okay, yeah, maybe he cheated. But a lot of arguments, and this is by no means defending if he cheated. Because at a certain point, and I told this to the men in my family that I was talking about earlier, you gotta grow up. I had to grow up. The day that I said I do to my wife was a huge, huge maturing moment. At that moment, I said to myself, I am never going to go back on my word. Before that, in previous relationships, I always cheated. My motto was cheat. That way, if they cheat, I won't get hurt. Faulty logic. Okay? It's stupid. I was a stupid 20-year-old. That's the only way I can explain it. A stupid 20-year-old, but that was my logic. And it never worked out, because if the woman did cheat on me, it didn't matter that I had cheated before that. It still hurt. So it was dumb logic. And the day that I got married, I was like, I can let my guard down. Somebody is riding for me. Because that's all it really was. Like, I didn't have to cheat. I was cheating to try to protect myself in some misguided way. That's what I was doing, was trying to protect myself from getting hurt. Most people do that in a variety of different ways, right? Most people are just guarded. Most people don't lash out like I did. Lashing out in this instance was me cheating, but everybody tries to protect themselves. So I'm not defending Klay. I just know where he is because I've been there at a much younger age, and Klay eventually needs to grow up. But if he was being honest and saying that he didn't want to be monogamous, you can't really fault somebody for being honest if he didn't cheat. So once again, I'm not defending Klay, but I need all the women out there to listen to me. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and it was, who was more popular? Is it Meg Thee Stallion or Klay Thompson? Because that defines the power dynamic in a relationship. I don't believe in power dynamics in a relationship. I don't subscribe to that anymore. But we still live in a patriarchal system where those power dynamics exist. And how are they presented in this relationship? A lot of women are out there like Meg. Meg was the one. She's a boss. She got the money. She got everything. She was known out here. Klay, didn't nobody know Klay? And I had to correct a lot of people on that. Klay has made close to $400 million. That's more than Meg Thee Stallion. He's worth more than Meg Thee Stallion financially. Klay has won 4 NBA championships. He has been an NBA player for like 13 years. He's been on the main stage. People know him globally. Now, in the Venn diagram, there aren't a lot of cross sections where a lot of people know Meg and Klay, except for in the Black community. And I would still say Meg Thee Stallion is more known in the Black community than Klay Thompson. However, globally, I will say Klay Thompson is more known than Meg Thee Stallion. So for all those women saying that Klay had come up and how dare he cheat, first of all, he did come up because it was Meg Thee Stallion. Because Meg, let me tell you, I know you're brokenhearted right now, but I would never cheat on you. I'll love you forever. Just to let you know, there are men out here that will do right, who will be monogamous. You just got to accept the fact that they ain't got $400 million and can't shoot the lights out of the basketball. Actually, I can shoot the lights out of the basketball, just not as good as Klay. But the idea that Klay came up, it's not necessarily the case. That does not condone what he did. If he did it, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is y'all are looking at it from the perspective for those women out here that were like, how could Klay ever do this to Meg Thee Stallion? In a lot of instances, like, yes, like Meg Thee Stallion is a boss bad bee, right? Like, yes, but Klay can get that, right? Like, there is no another Meg Thee Stallion. She is very unique, but there are women in the world, in the sphere, right, that Klay can bag, that some of the statistics would be better than Meg Thee Stallion. It's not condoning his alleged cheating. But what I'm saying is the thought that because y'all think he came up that he wouldn't cheat. Let me explain to y'all women out here, and I'm breaking God code, but the only clear example that I can give you of the illogical nature of a man cheating is the King of England, who's here in the States right now, cheated on Princess Di with the current queen. Now, put them side by side at that time, and there's no comparison. Men do dumb shit. Unfortunately, we are the lesser of the genders. Y'all already know this, but we do dumb shit. She should not have been treated this way. But to be surprised, it's a little bit naive. I'm not blaming her at all. What I'm saying is I'm painting a picture that this was a short-term relationship. We've all been there. Because they were celebrities, because it was public, it was a bad breakup. But they was just dating. They weren't married. They didn't have kids. It's just a breakup. We don't have to ride against Klay and ride for Megan or vice versa, because there are some men that are disgustingly praising the fact that Meg Thee Stallion got cheated on because they're weak individuals stuck in this manosphere that hate women. I'm not one of those dudes. I'm just trying to bring clarity and logic to the situation. They weren't even together for a year. They didn't know each other. You don't know each other until about 9 to 10 months of dating, because that's when you let down your guard. That's when you stop pretending and that real personality leaks out. And so I just want everybody to just take a breath. It's not that big of a deal. Both of these people will be okay. It was a short-term relationship. These things happen. There's a term for them: situationships. Yeah, I mean, they were, I guess, maybe exclusive, but it was a situationship. It wasn't even a long-term relationship. It wasn't. And these things happen, especially in today's society. But I want everybody to learn something from this segment. Breakups don't just end relationships. They end expectations. They end the version of the future you already started building in your head. Because when you're in something real, or what feels real, you don't just see the person in front of you, you see what it could be. And when things fall apart, it's not just losing them, it's losing the idea of what y'all were supposed to be. But here's the uncomfortable part people don't like talking about. Not every relationship is meant to last, even the ones that felt the most real. Sometimes people come into your life to show you what you deserve. And sometimes they come into your life to show you what you should never tolerate again. And the pain, the heartbreak, the confusion, that's just part of the reset. Because eventually you realize it didn't end to break you. It ended to realign you. Ladies and gentlemen, I had a different segment planned, and I guess I'm going to just do it on Tuesday. The next episode. I guess I'm just going to do that segment the next episode. But I felt like, because I was releasing an episode the very next day, that I needed to talk about this, because this is about history and the future. And y'all know how I feel about history, and y'all know how I feel about the future. So what am I talking about? Today, the Louisiana versus Callais decision just dropped. The Supreme Court made a decision, and it's one of the most important voting rights rulings in years. The court didn't eliminate protections, but it made it harder to prove when those protections are being violated. And it may sound small until you actually understand what this means for who gets power in this country. So what did this decision basically do? So somewhat simple explanations that I'm going to try to give you guys to explain it so you guys can digest it. The court raised the burden of proof under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Challengers now must clearly prove racial intent, not just discriminatory outcomes. So what does this basically mean? It's now harder to stop maps that function unfairly unless they can prove intent. Where did this all come from? If you haven't been paying attention, a lot of states are redrawing the voting maps. Trump called for it first, and he called for it so that they could get more seats in the election, the upcoming midterm election. Now, why do they need more seats? They literally, the last 2 years, have had control of the House, control of the Senate, and the presidency. But they need more. Actually, what they would truly, truly want, what Republicans, conservative, or MAGA, let's be specific here, MAGA, I'm not going to say all Republicans, MAGA. What they truly want is all Republicans so they can control everything. There is nobody to challenge them or to give dissent on what they do. That's what they truly want. So Trump called for states to redraw their maps. Texas was the first one. And then Gavin Newsom said, you do that, Texas, I'm going to redraw California. So we're going to make up the difference of those seats. And I personally just voted in Virginia 2 weeks ago on Tuesday for a redrawing of the Virginia map, which is once again in reaction to the president calling for red states to redraw their maps. Why is this important? What it essentially will do, especially Texas, is minimize the impact of minority votes. I'm going to get into what specifically is a minority in this country because I feel like people don't really understand what it is. But the courts didn't end voting rights. They just made it harder to prove when they're being violated. And let me give y'all another analogy. When I say to certain people, something is racist, there are more than a few times a white person will say, what do you mean? How is that racist? And I have to explain. Well, no, I don't have to explain, but I take it as a teaching moment. Either they get it or they don't get it. What I've been doing recently is saying, I'm telling you that it's racist because I'm offended by it as a black man. I don't have to freaking explain to you why it's racist. It is because it is. A lot of times it's not blatant. We don't live in the 40s, 50s, and 60s where I'm walking down the street and I'm denied the ability to sit at a lunch counter or people are calling me in where I dare somebody to say that to my face. I'm going to knock their face clean off. Like those things, it's not as visceral as it used to be. It's more subtle. So why is that important? Why is that analogy important? Is because to prove intent, it's very difficult to do. So the court just said, nah, y'all got to prove intent. Y'all got to prove this is unfair. And a lot of times it's just like, hey man, like, I know that's racist. I know it is. I can't tell you exactly what it is about that that's racist. Sometimes, a lot of times I can, because I can be very articulate when it comes to racism. This is one of the times where I don't have a speech impediment. I don't have a stutter or any of that stuff. I can point it out and I can say, this is racist and this is racist. Why? A lot of times, some people are just like, well, I don't know about that. And the reason why they don't know about that is because secretly they have those same thoughts, right? But they don't want to admit it to themselves. But this decision is extremely important because now the challenges to the redrawing of maps in red states where they're going to disenfranchise by diluting the impact of minority votes is going to be catastrophic for those people in those states, and not solely for those people in the states, for everybody, because these states will be sending representatives and senators that will be voting on national issues. So you may think, who cares about the Texas redistricting? I don't live in Texas. You should care because it will affect you, because Texas will be sending these representatives to our nation's capital to vote on bills and laws that are going to affect you that don't live in Texas. But I want to give a history of the Voting Rights Act, because I feel like a lot of people are so far removed from it that they don't understand why it was important in this day. And for context, the Voting Rights Act was 1965. My parents were born 1958, 1959. Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964. My mom remembers going to South Carolina to visit where my grandfather was from and seeing the whites only signs. That's my parents' generation. That's my parents. And you'll say, well, 1965, they got the right to vote. So by the time they became adults, they got the right to vote. They did, but it was only it been in effect in 10 years. How much change are you going to make in 10 years when you've had 200 years of not having this right? Right? So once again, let me give you the history. The Civil Rights, Voting Rights Act passed in 1965 during the Civil Rights Movement. It was a response to certain things like literacy tests. I know I didn't say that right. Y'all might think that I'm not literate, but literacy tests, right? Poll taxes. We see poll taxes coming back. Bruce, what do you mean poll taxes are coming back? No, they're not. So this saved Voting Rights Act that they're trying to pass in the House and the Senate right now is saying that your state ID, your driver's license, when I went to go vote, I had the voting, I'd already registered to vote years ago because I've lived here for a while. Show my ID. They asked me some questions to verify my, address and name and all that stuff, and then I can go vote. But the point I'm trying to make is my state issued driver's license is effective, right? With this new act, they're going to say that that's not effective anymore, that you will need a passport or birth certificate. For me, that's not a problem, right? I can afford both. Even though I still need to get my passport renewed. I know I've been talking about it for a couple of years. This is ridiculous. I still need to get it renewed. But so I don't have my passport right now, but I do have my birth certificate. I do. I took that from my mom, or my mom gave it to me years ago when I moved out, because I moved out at like 23 and just never came back home. She's like, you need your birth certificate. Make sure you don't lose it. So I still have it. But I have it, luckily for me. If I didn't have it, let's say my parents were gone. I kind of remember in what city I was born. I do remember the state, right? I was born in Illinois. So I figure that I could go to the state somewhere and find out the city, then find out the hospital. Then the hospital has to keep records. There's a record of my birth certificate somewhere in the system of Illinois. I would have to find that person and then pay for it. Same thing with a passport. I have to go get a passport and pay for it. And I don't know if y'all have been out there getting passports, but it's almost $200. That's a poll tax. Is it a direct poll tax where you have to pay money at the poll to vote? No. But this is in round. This is what I'm talking about with this ruling, having to prove intent. They will say, well, no, we just want to make sure that everybody is a legal citizen. But in reality, it's a poll tax. But they will say, well, you're not paying you're not paying money at the poll to vote. But you're paying money to have the proper documentation to vote. It's a poll tax. It's semantics. So these are the things that this ruling of the Supreme Court can now allow, because how can you prove this is a poll tax if it's stated that a poll tax is a fee that you pay at the poll? If that is the definition of a poll tax, a legal definition, I'm not saying that it is. I actually don't know. Should have looked it up. I didn't. I'm sure somebody will be out there to correct me. Hypothetically speaking, if that was the definition of a poll tax, within the SAVE Acts, technically it wouldn't be a poll tax. But in essence, you and I both know it's a damn poll tax. And then also the Voting Rights Act was also passed because it's just intimidation and violence. I mean, technically, people had the right to vote. Black people had the right to vote. But there was Klan and police all stopping people from voting, kind of like how certain groups like the Proud Boys and the Patriot Front are saying that they're going to man and secure the polls during voting. It's just a remix. It's just a remix, right? That's all it is. But the goal of the Voting Rights Act ensured Black Americans and other minorities, it wasn't just Black Americans, but Black Americans and other minorities could actually vote, not just legally, but practically. They could actually vote. But this is something that I really feel like you guys should focus on. Rights on paper mean nothing if systems are designed to quietly block access. So let's get into Section 2 and why the Supreme Court ruling on specifically Section 2 is so important. And look, this was all part of Project 2025's playbook. They have openly said they don't want certain people to vote. It includes minorities. And I'm going to get into what minorities actually are, because there's some people out there that feel like they're not a minority, and you technically are a minority. But what is Section 2? Why is this ruling so very, very important? Section 2 was purposely in the Voting Rights Act to prevent vote dissolution or dilution, right? So what do I mean by that? If you take some soap, right, and you mix it with water, the soap is not as strong as it was in its solid form. If you do certain things like packing, which is cramming minority votes into one district, you've added water to that soap. You've watered down that vote. Or if it's not packing, it's cracking. And what is cracking? That's splitting those votes across multiple districts, which is once again a dilution of the impact of that vote. So this ruling changes the game, because before you could challenge maps based on efforts and effects, right? This map is going to split the Black vote in this particular area into these two separate districts where their vote won't matter as much. You hear it all the time. People say, well, why do I vote? My vote doesn't even count because my state goes this way or my district goes this way. It's like throwing away my vote. Yet there are people who are drawing maps specifically to throw away your vote. Or there are people drawing maps to make your vote more equitable. And you just happen to live in an area where you think differently than everybody else, right? With this ruling now, you need stronger proof of intent, kind of like what I said earlier about the racial thing, right? And the poll tax. And how the poll tax, if hypothetically speaking, legally a poll tax was money being paid at the poll to vote, then technically the SAVE Acts wouldn't be a poll tax. But it is a poll tax because you have to pay money to get the documentation to be able to go and vote. But under this ruling now, you have to prove intent. And why does all of this matter? Intent is a far harder thing to prove than impact. And it makes the law becomes harder to enforce, and states will gain more flexibility to draw aggressive maps. That's what all of this means. So one thing that I want to bring up as I was doing a little bit of research on this ruling, it was 6-3. Conservatives were the 6 that voted in favor of this, and the quote unquote liberal judges were the 3 that voted not in favor of this. And there was a big dinner last night uh, because the king and the queen, they're in town. And those 6 conservative justices, before they ruled today, were invited. Not all the justices. Those 6 were invited. And then they rule in his favor. And I know some people will say, well, they ruled against the tariffs. Let me explain something to you about this country that you might not know. When it comes to messing with people's money, all bets are off. Because in this country, people will always protect their money. But also in this country, people will almost never protect other people if it inconveniences them. Almost never, but almost never. What are the real world impacts on elections because of this ruling? So there could be potentially fewer majority minority districts possible. What is a majority minority district? Let me explain to you what that is. In Virginia, there are pockets of cities and principalities in the cities and districts and all that type of stuff where the majority of the people are minorities, people of color, people in the LGBTQ plus community, and I'll get into what a minority is later, but they're minority. They would be minority majority, right? What's going to end up happening, I have almost 100% certainty of this. What's going to end up happening is these red states are going to redraw districts where there will no longer be minority majority. Even though you live in, let's just say, New York City, where there is a minority majority in New York City, but you draw New York City, you draw the voting map so that a couple of these boroughs get a few of the minorities that are majority and another one. So the vote gets split. Cracking. That's what it is, okay? What's another real world impact is more partisan advantage baked into maps, which is what Trump wanted, right? He said, I want more seats. Go get me more seats. Just like he said, go get me more votes for Georgia, and they didn't do it. Texas, they tried to redraw the map. They tried to do it. Go get me more seats. Why? Because your policies ain't that popular, bruh. Because if they were, you'd want as many people voting as possible. Because if your policies were popular, everybody would want to vote for it, or at least the majority of people, so you wouldn't have to worry about stacking the situation. This is what Trump wants to do. If you've ever played sports, they want to choose all the best players to play on that team so that they can win. Instead of competing, instead of saying, no, let's mix up the best players so we can have the best game. Nope, it's not what they want to do. All the best players on my team, because all I care about is winning, not helping the people, winning. Also, the real world effects of this is going to be harder legal challenges because there will be fewer lawsuits because, once again, intent is harder to prove than impact. There's going to be long-term shifts because of this in Congress, state legislators, and local governance. Quite simply, you don't have to ban people from voting if you can redraw the map so their vote doesn't matter. They don't care about who votes. They do, but they know they can't completely repeal the Voting Rights Act, right? They can't repeal the 15th Amendment or 13th Amendment. I can't remember which amendment it was, but the right for everybody to vote. Like they can't repeal it. They can't. They can damn sure make it so that vote is a lot harder and has way less impact. But I kept harping on the fact that I was going to talk about why this was important. And I know y'all are like, Bruce, this is kind of long. This is important. This is the reason why this is long. This is important. I have to break this down into structures so that you follow and go with where my mind goes with all of this stuff. My mind literally went to all of these tiers as soon as I heard about the ruling. because this is the impact of everything. So y'all are literally being into my mind, my supposed ADHD mind, where I go from one thing to one thing to one thing. And the next thing I'm going to is minorities. What is a minority? All right, so most people know minorities are Black, African American, Latino, Hispanic, Asian American, Native American. There are religious minorities, LGBTQ plus communities, and people with disability, right? Minority status is about influence, representation, and treatment, not just population size. So if you group all those minorities together, they outweigh the majority. Now, here's a minority group that sometimes is aware they're a minority, sometimes they're not. And there is a gender divide as well. Women. Women fall into this category of minority because let me just explain. Black men got the right to vote before white women. Black men got the right to have bank accounts before white women. So women are still a minority. I know there are some white women out there that's like, I'm not part of the minority. Yes, you are. You are part of the minority, even though a lot of times you vote against your best interests. So when we talk about what the majority is, it's very specific. It's very, very specific. When you talk about influence, representation, and treatment, right? White, heterosexual, cis men. That's the majority. Those are the people that are in power. You look at who the president is, the vice president is, the House of Representatives. We got a minority leader and Hakeem Jeffries. You look at the two heads of the party in the Senate, white men. White men. And I know what y'all are going to say. What's my homegirl's name that just stepped down from being the Democratic House leader? It's slipping. Nancy Pelosi. What? Yeah. You see a common theme with that? That's the Democratic Party. That's the more inclusive party. You look over to the Republican Party, the majority of it is white. I think it's got like a couple of people, couple of members of color. Like you might be able to count it on a single hand for both the House and the Senate. I don't have those raw numbers in front of me. I'll be corrected. But if you look at it as percentage, I know it's not 5%. I know it's not. Okay. You look at Democratic Party, way more inclusive. So what is a minority and who will be affected by this decision by the Supreme Court? Black and African American people, Latino and Hispanic people, Asian American people, Native American people, people that are in the religious minority, LGBTQ communities, people with disabilities, and women. Everybody else but straight white men are going to be affected by this. Now I know inevitably people are going to come back with this. Why are we focused on race? America isn't racist. Okay. This is what I always say to people when they say those type of things. Ignoring race doesn't erase inequality. And systems can also produce unequal outcomes without explicit hatred, even though the systems were built on hatred. Not talking about race doesn't make inequality disappear. It just makes it easier to ignore. I don't understand what's so difficult to think about that. But then again, I get it. Because if you are privileged in any type of way, or successful in any type of way, you want to believe that you got there on your own merit, that you are the hero of your own story, and to have your bubble burst, that it is a societal system that has propped you up to help you achieve this success, and that you didn't compete against all the best because some of the best were excluded, is a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow. So I get it. Everybody wants to be the hero of their own story, but that doesn't mean that you have to be illogical. Another thing I'm going to hear, I know it, so let's get out ahead of it now. We elected a black president. Everything is equal now. Yes, we elected Barack Hussein Obama. I want to put, the reason why I said his full name is because I want to point out something. When people say the president of the United States isn't racist, I point out to the fact that he always puts Hussein Obama. Very rarely does he say Barack. He says Hussein Obama. And why is he doing that? He's trying to other Barack Obama. Because he's the same one that did the birther thing. He's trying to other him because he's black. And here's the crazy thing. Barack Obama was America because, yes, he was the first black president. He's also half white. His daddy is black. His mama is white. Why he got all this racism? Because he's black. Right? It's been identified since the one drop rule. He's black. But he was elected, so everything is equal now. No. Because representation does not equal systemic equality. And one person's success does not equal universal access. One historic moment, and that was an absolute historic moment, that Barack Obama was elected to president of the United States, not once, but twice. And it doesn't slip my mind to know that it happened within 50 years of the Civil Rights Act. Think of how much black people could have achieved if we didn't have legal laws restricting our access. But just because of that one historic moment, it does not erase ongoing patterns. And what we're about to see with this new ruling is the dilution of votes for minority people. But let me leave you guys with this. The idea of voting rights has always been bigger than casting a ballot. It's about whether your voice actually carries weight when the system is done counting. Because history has shown us something real clear. People don't always take your rights away out loud. Sometimes they redesign the system so your rights don't hit the same. And we like to believe we're past that. We point towards progress. We point towards milestones. We point towards moments that make us feel like the work is done. But here's the uncomfortable part people don't like talking about. Progress doesn't mean protection. Just because you can vote doesn't mean your vote holds the same power. Just because the law says equal doesn't mean the outcome reflects it. And when we stop asking questions, when we stop paying attention, when we convince ourselves that everything is already fair, that's when the systems quietly shift. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to change who wins. And if you don't understand how power moves, you won't even realize it when it's already moved on without you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce my sister into the show now. This is that sneak peek segment on our After Hours Uncensored that, once again, you can only get on our YouTube membership on our Patreon page. If you don't want to sign up on the membership, you can go to our Patreon page, check out our episodes. You can even get a little snippet of the description, find out what we're talking about, and you can buy each episode for $3. If you find something on there that you like, check us out. It's only $3. You ain't got $3. $3. Candy bars cost more than $3 now. You got $3 for 30 minutes of me and my sister Uncensored. But here's just a little sneak peek of our After Hours Uncensored. I was thinking we'd do something a little different for this after hours.
Okay.
You've been sending me a lot of dope shit, and I was like, these are good topics to talk about, but I want to get raw and real.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to do it for the after hours. I might clip them for a sneak to
Mm-hmm.
show them what we're talking about, but I'd rather talk about this in the after hours. So
Okay.
one of the things you sent me, because I always look at your DMs, you never look at mine.
I
Uh,
do.
it,
And I
it,
respond, but it's like when I'll respond, I'll make comments and everything. But like I'll get on a kick where I'm like I'm on and I'm sending DMs and then I put my phone down for hours.
yeah, I get it.
And then you gotta give me a chance to come back to my phone.
Yeah, I done sent a lot. So, ooh, one of the things that you sent me was this woman was on a podcast and she was like on a man speak podcast, and it was like the host said like, what gives you the right to come on a man speak podcast and talk about
Mm-hmm.
men? And she was like, who better to explain to the oppressor how they are than the oppressed? And I was like, ah, that's kind of dope.
Yeah.
And then it was something about, as she was saying, like men are taught to not like women because everything, you sent me so much, so I'm trying to remember exactly what it was.
Yeah.
It was like men are taught from birth to be anti-woman, to
Yeah.
not
Well,
be
the
feminine.
right. The traits that are prized, right, is in men, or like the definition of masculinity is the opposite of femininity, right?
But we're taught because of that, that don't be the opposite because the opposite is bad. So
Right.
inherently, you will look at that and be like, oh, that's bad.
Right.
But we're
Femininity in
feminine.
itself is bad.
But we're taught that you still got to find women attractive,
Mm-hmm.
because I was watching something Little Scrappy's mother for his 14th birthday
Mm-hmm.
threw him a party and had strippers there.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why she had strippers there is because she was like, you better like girls. And he was like, that kind of traumatized me. Like, I'm
Yeah.
14. First of all,
Yeah.
it'd be great to have strippers when I was 14, but not my parents bringing them to me. So that's the traumatization. What's that word?
I don't know what you're trying to say.
When you're traumatized, the traumatization.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know that that's a word.
The traumatization? It might be a word. I've been drinking all day. So, hey, look, after
Yeah.
hours, you were getting me lit. Anyway, so I get that, the aspect of your parents bring you strippers. Like, I don't really want that, especially my mom. But it was like she was
Also,
gonna
the
make.
fact that he is a child and
Well,
these
he's
are
14.
adult women. He's
What?
a child,
Let me
and
tell you
these
something.
are I I know 14-year-olds. I have
Okay.
nieces and nephews, and they are children,
They are. They are very much
a
children.
hundred
Yes.
percent.
Yes.
And everybody else in that situation is an adult.
Mm-hmm.
The mother, the strippers, everybody's an adult. So the fact that no one said, "Hey, this is a child, and we probably should not do this," because this is child abuse. Nobody had that thought. So that's what's traumatizing about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And but her not but I'm not counterpointing what you're saying. I'm just saying her rationale was, I wanted to make sure he liked women, as if, once again, being gay is the worst thing in the entire world. And now
Yeah.
this is old black community, and we know old black community, despite the fact that we knew that the choir lead was absolutely gay. It was an
Yeah.
unspoken spoken
Yeah.
thing. We knew it. We were
Yeah.
accepting of it as long as you weren't in our face with it. As
Right.
long as it was closeted. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about black folks back in the day. So we're taught, it's interesting because when you sent this to me, I was like, yeah, that's something I've been working on. I've been working on since I became aware, and I don't know when that was, 35, maybe 40,
Mm-hmm.
of deprogramming myself of looking at women solely as something to attain.
Yeah.
Now, it
Yeah.
started with my ex-wife because she was legitimately my friend, and I've always had female friends, but they were always like female friends that I wasn't going to be sexual with, but that I could still do girlfriend things with when I didn't
Mhm.
have a girlfriend, or even if I did have a girlfriend and she wasn't doing what I wanted her to do.
They
So,
were your friends due to their utility,
mm,
due to their usefulness
right. Yeah.
as like you needing a proximity to women. So basically what the content creator was saying was because men are conditioned to define masculinity as the antithesis of femininity, right? And that all the things you want to be are nothing feminine, right? Don't cry, don't show your emotion, don't act like a girl, you run like a girl, like hit like a girl, like all these things, right? So what you end up with are a bunch of boys and men who despise femininity. And so what results from that is a bunch of boys and men who don't actually like girls and
Act
women. They don't actually like them
like
as
them. Yes.
people, right?
Right.
Because they don't value femininity. Not to say that every woman or female presenting person is feminine or has to be, but we're just talking in generalities right now. But because they don't value what you represent, they don't value emotional intelligence or sensitivity. They don't value compassion and kindness and caring and nurturing and things like that. So what they see is, okay, how can you be useful to me? What do you bring to the table? Because
Mm-hmm.
I despise everything that you represent in terms
Mm.
of your femininity. So what else can you do for me? Can you provide proximity to a woman when I otherwise don't have it? Can you can you occupy my time because I want another human being there that is a woman because I'm supposed to want that? Like, but I just notice with a lot of these podcast bros, they are oftentimes so incredibly critical of women. And really, it's a weird like comparison that they do with women, where it's like, I already got this, I already got that. What can you do for me? You can't do for me more than I could do for myself, and blah, 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 and it's just like, that's not why we want relationships.
Mm.
Companionship is not about utility. Like, it's not about what the other person does for you solely.
Well,
Like,
that's an interesting take. I had a conversation with a gentleman friend of mine probably about a year ago, and we were going back and forth about some women that date, not all women, because I actually don't date these type of women, but
mhm,
he does. Where it's just like, well, you take care of everything, and I'll take care of the household.
mhm,
And he and I both was like, why do I need you for that? I got enough money. Like, I can hire a housekeeper. I can order Factor. Like, I don't need you to prepare my meals. And like, that's
yeah,
not what I want.
yeah,
That's cool if you want that. That's not what I want. I can actually pay somebody to do that for me.
yeah.
Literally, I could pay somebody to give me sex as well. That's not solely what I want. It'd be great if I could have all encompassing. But
Well,
if that's all
there
that you're
are
bringing to the table, then
a
that's not
lot
what I
of
want.
men who just want a maid that they don't have to pay
Yeah.
that will have
Yeah.
sex with them. That's what they
Yes.
want because, again, they don't value anything feminine. So your use is your utility. Can
So
you cook, clean, take care of the kids, do all of these things that I want you to do, have sex, all of these things, and be quiet so that I fulfill my role as a man by having a female mate, but I don't actually have to deal with you or like you. And you serve a purpose and a use, so I can justify you being here.
also, hate to throw women under the bus here as we're talking about what we should not be doing.
Mm.
Women also are huge supporters of patriarchy, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's like there are a lot of women out there that are like, this is what I bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And you have those podcast bros is just like, oh, what else can you bring to the table? And some of the podcast bros are coming from absolutely horrible positions, but even from their horrible positions, they do bring up an interesting argument as to, for each person, what are you bringing to the table, right? If a woman is like, I want a guy that has money, you don't want nothing else? If a guy is like, I want a maid that I don't have to pay, you don't want nothing else? Eventually that gets lonely. Your boys can't be the end all everything for you. That because they can't give you, and maybe they do,
a certain level of intimacy that you're looking for.
right? Well,
Yeah.
that you should be looking for. And the question is, do
But
men
society
look?
tells you that you should be looking for.
No, society
Because
says that you should be looking for it, but only from women, not from men.
right. And what you have on the other side are women finding that they can have that deep intimacy with their female friends.
Mm.
And it doesn't have to be physical, but a deep relationship and connection with their friends that they're not finding in men. And it's also because, also patriarchy, right? Like it's the same thing with internalized racism. Like a lot of women are bound up in patriarchy and that the value of a man is what he can contribute to your household. Can he provide and protect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, forget the fact that you've been providing and protecting yourself this entire time.
Right.
But like they look at when you're bound up in patriarchy, right? You do not see the humanity of the other. So that's when you get those questions like, what do you bring to the table? And you're asking me that because you don't see my value as a human of just existing, that I have a mind and a spirit and a heart and that I have value just existing as a human. You don't see that. So you need me to quantify my value. And it happens on both sides. And that's what we have to stop doing. Or at least if you do it with somebody who also has that same ideology and stop terrorizing other people out here.
Well, that's the problem, right? Like, especially in dating, it's like guys are so visual.
Mm-hmm.
She bad. That's who I want. But yeah,
Women are equally visual. We
women
are
are
also creeps.
Well, here's where women are super creeps. Not super creeps.
Yes.
That's an over.
It might
After
be
hours.
wrong. Depending on what you say, it might not be wrong.
No, this is an exaggeration, as I do on After Hours. It's an exaggeration. You said, can you provide and protect?
Mm-hmm.
They'll get to a point where women are very successful now. Women are passing men, right? As far as that, getting that money and moving on in life. So it's not, there are still women that are looking for that providing, but like if a woman got it, she ain't really worrying about that.
Right.
That protection thing never goes away. And I think that's the reason why tall guys are always the preference, because women equate
looking for somebody physically imposing.
If you Mike Tyson,
doesn't even have to get to the physical altercation.
Right.
Like he is physically imposing enough that it doesn't even have to get to the fight.
And that's crazy because I'm gonna be real honest, ladies and gentlemen. I'm 6'4", probably about 240 right now. There's a lot of dudes out here that's 5'8" can whoop my ass. Like size don't have nothing to do with it. But
doesn't.
You think of it like, and everybody like, you could protect. Like, I haven't been in a fight in 25 years. I don't got no hands no more.
Also, please, at my big age, I'm calling the police. No, we're not getting into fights.
I'm gonna tussle and tear my Achilles. What the fuck I look like?
we got assets. Like, we got things to lose. Like, can't nobody be catching no assault charge? You kidding
Right.
me?
No,
No
but I
time for
mean,
that.
but going back to what she said, and my response to you was, she's absolutely right. It's a programming
Mhm.
of men to, I don't know if not to, I don't know if the right word is to hate, but to not desire anything outside of physical and what you can do for me that can make my life easier
It's just
in
about where
women.
they assign value, right?
Yes.
If you define masculinity as the antithesis of femininity, and you assign value to masculinity and not femininity, then you will inevitably grow to despise femininity.
Yes. And I think that that deprogramming takes a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I know I'm not out of it yet. I think I very
No.
much respect and adore women, or else I wouldn't have as many women around me that I actually admire.
Yeah.
However, the manosphere could come out of me every now and then. I'm like, oh shit. Manosphere
Yeah.
just came out of me. I don't like that. And it'd be on weird times. Like I could be dating a woman and she could say, I was like, hey, let's go around to that bar around the corner from your house. Well, we might run into one of my exes. Old Bruce would have been like, well, fuck that, because I don't want to be around no dude that been with you, right? Like
Right.
that, you mind now, somebody else has been with you. That's a whole pride issue that I didn't want to have to deal with. Now I'm like, I don't give a fuck. He
Yeah,
had
because
you, I got you.
because her life prior to meeting you has nothing to do with you.
Even if she was a hoe.
It absolutely, she did not know who you were.
Maybe
His
she
life,
did. Maybe she
his,
did and still is a hoe.
but I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
I
didn't
do.
have
I'm
that
joking, but I
relationship
do.
with you,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So like, why are people so worried about things like body count and stuff like that? I'm like,
You
that
know,
had nothing to do with you.
it's a very simple answer. Pride,
Yeah.
ego, and shame. Shame in this respect. No guy wants to be a simp. No
I
guy wants to be a
yeah.
simp.
Yeah.
And so if you're looked
Except the
at,
guys who recognize that being a quote unquote simp is actually what gets you a woman.
well, depends.
Like,
Depends.
yeah.
Because there's some variations. There's some variations that I would never be. I would never be that type of dude. Hey, my girl, she was cheating on me again, but I love her. She just getting through her tough time. Fuck no. You betrayed my trust. I'm
Yeah. That's
not going to.
fair.
But there are dudes out there that just be like, look, I love her. I'm going to forgive her for her flaws,
That's a
what have
self-esteem,
you.
self-worth issue.
For the guys or for the
For
girl or both.
him. For him. If
Well,
you're
I know.
willing to accept a relationship where there's a constant breach of trust, that is a self-worth and self-esteem issue.
Or they just really love that person and they've given them a
No.
lot of grace. Like, especially if they're on drugs. You know how many couples, I know a couple. They're not like my friends directly, but I know a couple where the woman was on crack
Yeah.
and she did a lot of things for that crack.
That's not love. I will. That's not
Well,
love because love knows boundaries, right? And if
I thought it
someone is
says love.
constantly,
Oh, love knows boundaries. Love.
yes,
Oh, I always got the expression wrong. It was like love has no boundaries, but nope, love knows boundaries. Oh,
yeah,
just learned
yeah,
something.
love should know boundaries.
Mhm.
And just because you love somebody doesn't mean they can treat you like trash.
I
And
mean,
so
you're
if
right.
you allow them to continue to treat you like trash because you love them, that is a self-esteem and self-worth issue that has nothing to do with love. That has to do with that's what you feel like you deserve.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that. I know it wasn't a normal sibling happy hour. My sister is sick. What can I say? I'm not going to make her work when she doesn't feel good. She needs her rest. She's been doing a lot. But don't worry, she's going to come back. And you got a little snippet of her. and you'll get a little snippet again on Tuesday. But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for watching. And until next time, as always, I'll holla. Woo! That was a hell of a show. Thank you for rocking with us here on Unsolicited Perspectives with Bruce Anthony. Now, before you go, don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, comment, and share our podcast wherever you're listening or watching it to it. Pass it along to your friends. If you enjoy it, that means the people that you rock will enjoy it also. So share the wealth, share the knowledge, share the noise. And for all those people that say, well, I don't have a YouTube. If you have a Gmail account, you have a YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can actually watch our video podcast and YouTube exclusive content. But the real party is on our Patreon page, After Hours Uncensored and Talking Straight-ish. After Hours Uncensored is another show with my sister. And once again, the key word there is uncensored. Those are exclusively on our Patreon page. Jump onto our website at unsolicitedperspective.com for all things us. That's where you can get all of our audio, video, our blogs, and even buy our merch. And if you really feel generous and want to help us out, you can donate on our donations page. Donations go strictly to improving our software and hardware so we can keep giving you guys good content that you can clearly listen to and that you can clearly see. So any donation would be appreciative. Most importantly, I want to say thank you for listening and watching and supporting us. And I'll catch you next time. Audi 5000. Peace.